Ladies and gentlemen, this is Genzio Media. Today we are out in Seoul with the one, the only Roger Ying, CEO and co-founder of dFusion. Roger, thanks so much for bringing us out.
And yeah, thanks so much for being here, man. Good to see you guys again. It's been a
Yeah,
while since Dubai.
definitely. Pleasure indeed. So I guess, what are we doing out here? We're sitting in a tent. There's a wood table right in
Yeah,
front of us.
we're like in the Temple of Babylon right now, at a Bitcoin Babylon events. Very chill, very chill.
Yeah,
Thinking about the meaning of life, the meaning of knowledge, data, where's it coming from? Who controls us? How can we even control our lives? Do we have a say in our destiny? Yeah.
smooth. I thought I was interviewing you.
I'm just wondering, this is like my thoughts speaking out loud right
Sure,
now.
sure. Well, it sounds like you have some thoughts on these items. So why don't you kind of kick us off now? I'll ask a more formal what is diffusion question here in a bit. But what do you think about the issue of data privacy, data storage? Why don't you
Yeah.
kind of explain that landscape for us and tell us what are some of those problems?
Pretty much some of the problems now what's happening with AI is that your data is being used no matter whether you like it or not, right? And so whether if it's being used or etc., how are you actually going to profit from it, right? How can you make money from your data or data that's available to you? Big tech companies, you look at the centralization of AI with big tech companies, these are the only guys who can afford to license data for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And so they're licensing data from things like Reddit, X.com, Twitter, News Corp, etc. And so, it's really like, where do you fit as a piece in this puzzle, and how can you take advantage of the AI revolution? And so that's where data diffusion comes in.
I see. Now, quick question. Why is this data so valuable? Is there, of course, there's advertisers,
Yeah.
right, are looking to purchase a large
Yeah.
set of this, I'm sure, but are there any other pressing purchasers of this data?
Well, exactly. Great point. So, little well-known fact is actually the world is running out of data. So think about it this way. People do not know that, well, people do know, but not everyone. GPT-4 required 100x more data than GPT-3 to train to get to that level. If you look at the AI scaling law in terms of that, AI scales in terms of the amount of data usage, for GPT-5 to be more impressive than GPT-4, it also needs at least 100x more data.
Sure.
Question is, this data has already been scraped. So 96% of data on the internet is not available to search engines. So what's publicly available has already been used.
Okay.
How do we get to the next 96%? Why are these big AI companies spending hundreds of millions of dollars to get it? So that's where diffusion plays a role, to help people monetize data that's not freely available to the public.
I see. So this data that's not freely available, where is it? Are these search engines not picking it up just because it's not indexed? Is it? What's that
Exactly. It
like?
could be in private databases. It could be in textbooks, and behind paywalls, things like that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I see. So how does that data get accessed then at scale?
Yeah. So essentially, folks who do have access to that data can offset the cost of their data by contributing it to diffusion, essentially.
Okay. I see. Now, what does dFusion's safety, privacy, what does that look like for a user? How do you guys differ from, them selling that data to some other corporation?
Oh, yeah. So the way we look at it is everyone in the diffusion community is in this together, basically. So the larger the knowledge network, the more buy pressure there's on the token, the more demand there's on the token, everybody benefits. So if you look at the other model, which is a marketplace model, they're trying to divide people into essentially contributing data onto a marketplace and only being paid when it's used, right? So
Sure.
with that, as a data contributor or a model contributor, essentially you're creating your own competition. The biggest benefactor in this is the marketplace, right? So we've taken a bit of a different approach to this, different philosophy. We've basically said, hey, everyone is in this together to create the most valuable knowledge graph for humankind to everybody, right? And we're all going to benefit in this together, no matter whether you're a low contributor, high contributor. You can either contribute GPUs, you can earn tokens in different ways. In that sense, as the network grows, everybody benefits, essentially.
Okay.
directly benefits, so not indirectly benefits.
I see. And is that benefits delivered as a token? What are those benefits look
Yeah, benefits delivered as a token, as well as special privileges on the network.
Okay. I see. Now let's say that I am just a single person and I am contributing to the dFusion network in a way.
Yeah.
How does that differ from, let's say, the company that has a set of private data that they want to contribute to dFusion?
In a way, it actually doesn't differ much at all. So the difference with what we do compared, it's not just any data we're going after. We're going after highly specific contextual data on specific topics that the community wants. So in a way, the byproduct of we're building is like a decentralized Wikipedia
Yeah.
to like an existence. So that's a byproduct. The direct product of having this high quality text data is that making it available for training of small models, fine tunes in the AI space, and to tech or AI companies that want this data for training.
I see. Okay. Now, how would that be leveraged on the other end? Okay, so let's say you have this, network of data. People have contributed. People are active on the network. How is that data then being accessed and leveraged by people that do want to fine tune these AI models?
Yeah, so they can pay in tokens to download not only the vectored database version of the massage data, or the data sources. They could create their own subnets from the mainnet that will allow them to create an incentive mechanism to gather more data on that specific topic. Yeah, from that you can build your own bots. You can do your own training on it, things like that.
Interesting. Now, I do want to back up a bit as well. You said that you are not trying to get all the data, but really kind of focusing on data that the community wants.
Yeah.
Right? How is that being determined what the community wants?
Yeah, so right now we seeded it with topics that we feel is interesting, but now it's going to knowledge votes, to votes.
Okay.
So the community can, nominate topics. We put out votes on it. Once we, TGE, then this will be in a DAO format where node operators can kind of vote on which topics should be next. And so it's really like, we also going to be completely open source platform. And so it's really about like the community also going to be deciding whether it's going to be the sustainable future and path of what type of knowledge would be valuable to the rest of the world.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but so far I'm understanding this as, okay, one, you have the contributor, right? The person that's giving data to the network.
Yeah.
Two, you have the, person that's using that data off the network. And three, you have node operators.
Right.
Would that be accurate? Am I missing a fourth?
Yes, but the contributor could also be the node operator.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how does a node operator work? What does a node on the dFusion network do? What are some of the rewards, incentives, and so on?
Definitely. So anyone can basically become a node operator. We've set the barrier very low. And what they can do is they can either help in validating the network, they can help in processing the data that's coming in. So using our AI models, they can rent cheap GPUs. We've partnered with the Aether ecosystem and a few other GPU networks. And then they help in running the compute that's necessary to create this really valuable commodity of high quality language data. And as I mentioned, high quality language data, contextual data, whatever you want to call it, has literally run out in the world and will run out in the world by 2026.
Interesting. Now, have you done the calculation of what GPT could get to with that 96% data? If it takes 100 times more each time, what is that extra 96% going to get?
I haven't done the back of the envelope calculation, but that'll be a great exercise to do. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe it'd only get to about like, let's say 4% of the internet's been used, right? Then if you get to like, the next one's going to be like 8 or 8%, then 16%.
Well, isn't it 100 times more each time? So maybe we're already
going to hit the scaling limits, basically. I was thinking of it as an exponential, but yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, either way, I guess we'll have to see, right?
No, 100%, man. Yeah. So an AGI, good news is an AGI is not so imminent.
Yeah, or so we think.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
I've seen people trying to crack GPT already, and I mean, something I've heard that's interesting with a lot of these models is a lot of the time they'll create the model, and they aren't even sure everything that it's capable of. It takes.
Well, if you talk to the engineers at OpenAI, like the model's great. but it's based on the data that you feed it.
Hmm.
Another thing is 90%, so 90% of the data used in the model training is actually synthetic data. What is synthetic data? Fake computer generated data. So of that 4%, it's actually 0.4% that's being used.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, wouldn't that computer generated data kind of
This causes the hallucinations. Would you trust medical advice or ChatGPT? How can you verify what data's gone in there? And so, one of the genesis of dFusion was to create a community verifiable knowledge graph, right, with source and tracking. And so maybe another way to think of us too, the byproduct of what we create is like a perplexity. Perplexity is a GPT wrapper that has raised over $150 million, backed by NVIDIA, a few other big names, Jeff Bezos, and is just a much more user-friendly ChatGPT.
Sure.
Also using the ChatGPT model and a few other models.
Yeah, I believe there's a statistic I read maybe last month that the App Store is doing $100 million a month in just GPT wrappers.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Right, so where's this data come from? How can we verify it? Is it sourced? In the GPT model, you can't see that basically.
Totally. Yeah, and not only that, I think it'd be interesting, like how you would treat sourcing information from a model. For example, I just mentioned that the App Store is doing $100 million in revenue from these apps that are just wrapping GPT and using the GPT AI or GPT API.
Yeah.
Sorry. And nowhere in the app is it saying, okay, here's the source of
the data.
This is the API we're using, right? Okay, it's obvious that they're using the GPT API because that's the standard right now, right?
Yeah.
That's the most capable by far. But I think it's an interesting philosophical question of how is this sourced and verified, right?
Right. And it's a scary thought, right? I mean, you could have like a Republican or a Democrat's GPT, and basically, your children would, or, maybe our generation would choose the difference. But if you've grown up with a GPT, you wouldn't actually second guess it.
Yeah.
Right? Or you haven't learned to second guess it. You become so dependent on AI,
Right.
the source of information.
And I mean, yeah, in a way we see that with, current news and like whatever you believe, everything you watch, right, creates the reality that you live in.
And even the internet already has so much garbage on, basically, right? Like, look at SEO, look at it, when you search something, it's mostly the most biggest spender on SEO and SEM that gets ranked top in the search results. So Google has been reverse engineered. And I think that's also why things like Perplexity are important, because it's adding context, semantic search, and context to your search. But now I think the next wave is to what will be verifiable information, basically.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's an amazing point. I've actually recently kind of just discovered what SEO was for the first time, maybe like a year ago.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was.
And people are using AI to game SEO now, right?
Right. And there's all these AI articles and all this, but that was just an insane revelation for me. It was like, wow, all these search results that I'm getting are just people that know how to play the game, right?
Yeah.
Probably not the best search result, not the best information, but they know how to play the game and they've got the money to play it. So that's what you see.
100%, right? So when you buy something, when you buy an item these days, is it because you were reverse engineered to buy that item, or was it your actual choice, right?
I like to think personally that I am cognizant of what's being displayed to me as an ad and what is actually what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
However, I'm sure to an extent I, am influenced by the ads that I see.
100%, right? Yeah. So, but that's also going to influence not only your ads, but your way of thinking.
Major issue. That's crazy. Yeah, it's existential.
Yeah. So, in a way, like the data we're getting is there's no political bias to it. There's no type of any agenda type of the data.
So how do you assure that?
Yeah, so we actually test the data across all different sources, and we see how much is corroborated and how much is not corroborated. And then, we'll add sourcing to that too. So then you can actually see where, like, okay, this piece of information comes from a highly, say, I don't know, Democrat or Republican biased thing, or whatever it may be, or might be even like a tobacco lobbying piece or something like that, right? And you can discern, but at least you get a balanced view on both sides of the equation, essentially.
I see. So when you're testing this data, what is the subset of data that is being used to test against, right? Because then
Yeah.
that kind of indicates that there is one source of truth somewhere that is correct,
Yeah.
that this data is being tested and
Well,
approved for.
So
Right.
I use the word source of truth quite carefully. I think it's a frame of reference. So like we would see what data this is referenced upon. So not only the contributions, but also what's out there in different models basically. And so I think it's also about presenting both sides of the coin essentially. And data can also be flagged by community members for it to be labeled in a more appropriate way as well.
I see. So when this data is presented, is it presented with the context of those tests, or how is the data being?
Yeah, we have some things, some previews where it's in the context of the test. And we have open APIs, so folks will be able to present this data in any context that they want to.
Extremely interesting, and I think that is the best way to, determine the, let's say, general approval of information, right? Is referencing
Right.
the data that's out there, because, I mean, the four-word phrase, the source of truth, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very controversial
For
statement,
sure.
and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, nobody knows,
Right.
right? Okay, I mean, I can say this table is wood.
Right. But it's also like, we are also guided, through search engines and social media
Mm-hmm.
to different things. We like, in a way, we exist in our own echo chamber, right? So a different way to think about this is push first pull. Say you want to learn about a new topic, let all the sources come to you instead of you going to find the different sources,
Yeah.
cross-referencing, cross-checking, right? And then not only is that like useful to you as a human, to research a topic or make opinions on something, but that's also valuable data that's necessary for LLM training. We're taking raw data, turning it raw diesel, turning it to jet fuel for
Right.
AI.
It's almost like averaging out the data to find the best result, right?
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly.
Interesting. So where are you guys at in your roadmap?
Yeah, we have an upcoming node license distribution soon. So folks, if you want to register on genesis.dfusion.ai, you're going to be automatically whitelisted, make some contributions, start earning points. Those points could be very valuable one day. Yeah, and so we're going to do testnet in about 2 months.
Okay.
And yeah, looking for a net launch within 6 to 8 months, basically. We have some exciting developments. A lot of AI companies want to start using this data or help us collect data. So not only is that the real world application, we have search coming out. Well, it's in beta right now.
Okay.
But if you have 10,000 points on the Genesis dFusion, you're going to be able to search all the data that's available. Just to throw out some stats, like within four to 6 weeks, we had over 16,000 community contributions, and we had about 30. Our AI filtered out about 67% of that. So only like 1/3 gets accepted into the DB.
Okay.
And this is unique verifiable content, which then you can actually search. So yeah, I think we have one of the largest verified databases in Web3 now.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So and now we're starting with AI next. And yeah, we'd love to hear from the community what like interesting topics they want to hear. We're thinking about you doing the US presidential election just because it's such a controversial topic, right?
Yeah.
Getting not only the good stuff, the dirt on both candidates,
Sure,
right?
sure. Yeah, there definitely is dirt on both candidates, right? I always think it's funny. You always see these polls, and depending on who you see the polls from, it always says different things. I think I always go to Polymarket.
Yeah,
and
me
check
too.
who's
Me
winning,
too. Yeah,
right?
that's money, right? And also, like, I forgot to mention is folks who are contributing knowledge or benefiting from the network have to have tokens staked. So in a way, they have an outcome of the knowledge graph.
Okay.
You can't just put 1,000 memes or comments or whatever.
I got you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So kind of a anti.
Spam filter in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a great sign to see even the points being utilized, right? People that have enough points can use that search function.
Yeah, and just on a practical level, you might have hundreds of documents on your hard drive. How do you search it? Why don't you throw it in the model and then become searchable? And you can search and compare and contrast with other contributions from community.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what are some exciting things that we can look forward to here maybe in the next 6 months, 12 months, maybe even next couple of years?
Yeah. So I think node license sale is
Hmm.
going to be pretty, pretty awesome in a way. Like we're a project that we actually, we care, but we actually don't mind about being small because the smaller is that the more rewards go to less people, right? And so the larger it goes, it's a
Sounds like
continual.
the pool.
So yeah, and then once we get to mainnet, we'll be like, so we'll be working with a lot of different AI companies with other protocols. We've reached out to some of the we had talks to some of the largest AI protocols. Bit too early to drop any names at this moment, but we already have a lot of deep in AI partners like Aether, and folks are going to be able to launch subnets, and as well as yeah, like run their own models, aggregate their own data. Yeah,
Amazing.
have a decentralized Wikipedia. Yeah.
So now I know you said you want to hear what the community thinks. Where can these people reach you?
Yeah, join our Discord channel. Go to our Twitter, our X, dFusion AI is our thing. We're very active, so answer a lot of questions. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, register on genesis.dfusion.ai. Start earning points. It's in a way free, valuable things.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, and you can use the search function, right?
Exactly. You can start using the search as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Roger. I think it's amazing what you're doing, and I love digging into the philosophy of
Yeah.
that with you today. I hope the rest of your time here in Babylon, Seoul,
So
is,
yeah,
is
when I'm
fruitful and
yeah,
amazing, and yeah, it's awesome to see you.
yeah, good to see you not only in Dubai now, but in Korea now too.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Singapore up next, right?
Singapore soon. It's
Yeah.
busy month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure is. Awesome.
Awesome, man.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a hive.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Genzio Media House.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today.